Welcome back to Stocklabs for another market recap. We are kind of approaching the midpoint of August. Month so far has been not great. Performance this week was on the soft side, kind of like we were expecting coming in. I think last recap I said sort of expect softness early in the week and then maybe some chop the rest of the week. More or less the whole week spent time kind of going nowhere. The NASDAQ drifted lower most of the week, outside of, I think, Monday. Rest of the time, it kind of just, drifted lower. As far as index performance for the week, Dow was actually up 7/10. S&P was flat, down 3/10. The Qs were down 1.6%, and IWM was down 1.7%. So, I mean, not sure what held up the S&P and the Dow, kind of flattish and green, but small caps were getting hit, tech was getting hit. So, I mean, it felt like a bad week in the markets, even though, we've had worse weeks, even this year, and this year's been great so far. So, EEM, emerging markets, again, very China heavy, down almost 2.5%. Crude oil, another up week, up 6/10. And bonds, another bad week, down 1.2%. The 10-year is somewhere around 4.1, 4.15%. This is, still kind of hanging around highs, sort of threatening to bust loose a little bit. And if that happens, I think over maybe 4.2, 4.25%. If you see the 10-year push over that, equities are going to enter a little bit of a spiral near term. So just keep an eye on that. Leadership stocks for the market were not great this week. So Google hung in, up 1.2%. It's been trading around this 130 level, kind of 125, 130 level after a big rip from, down below 100 or around 100 earlier in the year. And okay, what else? Amazon down not even 1%. I mean, it outperformed the NASDAQ, so that's good. Microsoft down 2%. Microsoft has been soft-ish for like a little while now. Apple down 2.25%. So Apple continued its decline from the prior week, where the earnings report kind of just got sold. And Netflix down also 2.25%, Meta down 3%, Tesla down 4.5%, and Nvidia hit hard, down 8.6%. I think Nvidia has earnings coming up in a week or two. They've had a lot of announcements. They promised a lot on the last call. So I don't know, maybe investors get a little bit of cold feet coming into the print, even though it's a week or two away. So we'll see. But yeah, Nvidia down pretty substantially off 52-week highs. So yeah, industry-wise for the week, obviously not great. NASDAQ was down, IWM was down, so breadth is not going to be good. But you had some of these industries or sectors hang in a little bit. Materials, financials, industrials kind of holding on to this flat line. Industrials have stayed relatively strong. Tech was obviously a loser, down 2.5% on a median basis. So that's even worse than the index itself. NASDAQ. Healthcare also down 2.6%. So I've highlighted this in the past recaps that healthcare it's really not doing anything for you. I don't think, at least for now, no one should really be obligated to hang on to healthcare because it seems like institutional money doesn't want it. So, why should you for now? They're still divesting from this sector. So, utilities strangely up, even with bond yields pressing higher. But, utilities is sometimes more of a risk off trade no matter what. It's just perceived as safe, not as much equity risk. So you get to keep equities, but you get to keep them in a safer cut of the market. So subsector wise, actually we don't hardly have anything up, rotation wise. Long-term care facilities, I don't even know. I can't name a single stock off the top of my head in this. I'm not going to click into it to look for one. But long-term care facilities up 9% on the week if you're a investor in this space, which I'm betting you're not. Other than that, we don't have a single sector up 5%. And on the downside, we have a handful that are down 5%. So we've got processing systems and products. This is like payment processors and things like that. EVs down 10% on the week. EV related stocks, also EV charging, down 7%. And most concerning, we have semiconductors. We have a whole bunch of semiconductor, we have our semiconductors split up into different specializations. But semiconductors as a whole, you see a bunch of them kind of leading the way lower on here. So the semiconductor index is going to be something that we'll want to keep an eye on this week, because in general, it's thought that semiconductors lead the NASDAQ, which leads the market. So if semiconductors are cracking lower, presumably it wouldn't be too long until the market overall was following them. So we'll keep an eye on semis this week. As far as breadth from a market cap basis, the 1 to 5 billion stocks were down 1.4%. Actually, that's not too bad, considering the IWM was down 1.7. 5 to 10 billion, only down 0.7, which is pretty good. I mean, you wouldn't expect these to really hang in too well, but they did. 10 to 50 billion, down 44 basis points. Again, like just barely red as a whole. So 50 to 100 billion cap stocks, green on the week, 7 basis points. And 100 billion cap plus companies were, where is it? Up 34 basis points. So actually, a normal kind of up week for the Terra cap stocks. Again, we highlighted some of the leadership stocks were down, but the rest of all of the large cap, Terra cap, 100 billion plus stocks, they were doing fine this week. So really, the weakness was isolated in sort of the big winners for the year. So, it's kind of how it played out this week. We'll look at intelligence for this week to get sort of an idea of what Stocklabs is expecting. Bullish. Cold is bear natural gas, so we bearish natural gas this week. I think Natty Gas had a pretty good run. off the lows, but Stocklabs kind of looking for the prevailing trend to reassert itself this week. Home builders bullish. Home builders have been doing pretty well because I mean, like we said, the housing market's been on fire. There's not a lot of existing supply coming on the market, so you kind of have no choice right now other than to buy a new build, which means the home builders are going to be busy making money. So we've got meme ETF bullish for this week. Not sure if that's anything to read into. Google bullish this week, Europe bullish this week, and again, this expanded tech software sector is bullish, which I don't know specifically what stocks are in there at the moment. Downside for this week, I would imagine this is going to be light because, okay, actually not that light, but downside LABD. So this is biotech bear ETF. So we'd be bullish biotech this week, even though I kind of mentioned earlier, like healthcare, I don't think you really need to get involved in any of that. It's been kind of an underperformer on the upside and downside. So we've got ultra short China is bearish, so bullish China this week. China internet bull is bearish, so bearish China internet, I guess. We've got mid caps. Mid cap bull is bearish, so bearish mid caps. We've got commodities bearish. We've got silver bearish. Inverse oil and gas is bearish, so it'd be bullish the oil and gas names this week, and bull utilities is bearish. So it'd be bearish utilities this week. Utilities, going to give back whatever they made the past week. So all that being said, I would think you're in for a pretty choppy week. I don't know if there's any news announcements coming out this week or there's like jockeying for position going on or whatever. But it seems to me like the market, if you have the winners selling off and some rotation into, I mean, we didn't even see any real strong rotation into something else. It was kind of like the leaders were selling. Everything else was kind of, I'd call it maintaining. It wasn't like, it wasn't like, I don't know, let me give an example. It wasn't like Nvidia was down 10% and like Intuit was up 8 or something like that. Like everyone was just like rotating whole hog into other industries. But I think what you're going to see is, first off, a little bit of a bounce to start the week. Definitely market participants are going to test some, like retrace and test some higher levels. Expect energy to sort of lead, expect tech to sort of lag, but also, the market overall will be in more of a churn mode, I think, than actually resolving some direction. So I think, to start August, you kind of got slammed down here a little bit if you were still, all in on all the leaders. People are going to take a little bit to regroup. They'll make some buys, and then we'll see where we go from there. August isn't really seasonally that strong, so listless action is pretty typical. But yeah, I don't think you're in any big danger of like, the bottom falling out or anything right now. But definitely, if the weakness persists and long positions are put under more pressure, there will be conditions for that to sort of take place at some point, but not yet. For now, I think, a little bit of a bounce to start the week early and then just chop around and churn. We'll see by the end of the week if market holds any gains that it sort of accumulates, or if there's another sort of late week spill like we've been having. So yeah. been a weak August so far, but the year's been great. So, I mean, what are you really going to complain about? The market's not even that far off the recent highs. So, yeah, that's all from me. And be back next week to see how everything went and talk to you later. Bye.